Question 1, Fashion MFs. What's the craziest piece of fashion you've seen? Answer 1. I once saw someone wearing platform shoes that were literally shaped like goldfish tanks with live fish inside. It was wild and, honestly, kind of impressive. How they managed to walk in them. Answer to obligatory mention of Lady Gaga's meat dress. Answer 3. The codpiece worn by the singer from Cameo in their Word Up video. Answer 4. It's the algae dress that needs to be refrigerated. Answer 5. There is a black market for celebrity-worn cloths when I was 19. I worked as a low-end assistant for an elite modeling agency both in NYC, Paris, and many of the models used to spend thousands buying unwashed celebrity clothing items, including brass and underwear. Answer 6. It's my contention that everything worthwhile in fashion has been done now, and all that's left for the cool kids is low-look increasingly ridiculous as a sort of dare. Answer 7. That house Jaden Smith wore over his head. Answer 8. Lewis Hamilton. Answer 9. Anything from Balenciaga's were 10. Any Yezins were 11. One guy, one jar. He did it for the art. Not kidding. Answer 12. Buying things that are dirty, but it was made that way. Answer 13. Tabi platform high heels for men. Japan be weird sometimes. Answer 14. MSCHF red boots. Answer 15. Those black tape events are awesome.
Answer
16. One person put a toilet seat around his head at NY Subway. Answer 17. Gaga's meat dress. Question 2. What scandal from high school still lives rent-free in your mind? Answer 1. A chemistry teacher got sacked because after repeatedly warning one particular student about wearing his safety glasses, she taught him a lesson by spraying him in the eyes with a chemical solution. Answer to my high school had an awesome computer club, especially for the 90s, but it was damn hard to get into. I tried constantly with no luck. In my senior year, the teacher in charge of it and some students were arrested for counterfeiting money. The older I get, the more I can't understand why an adult would team up with teenagers to do such a thing. Answer 3. Married science teacher, girls basketball coach was sleeping with a senior on the b-ball team. He later divorced and then married. The senior, then he went on to become the county's school superintendent or for teacher, was sleeping with student, both female, and also buying weed from her. Student basically starts using this to blackmail teacher, having teacher constantly write her excuses for absences and getting her out of other classes. Sometimes showing up to teacher's classes and talking over her lectures like she owns the place. I was in one of these classes, and it was uncomfortable. This somehow goes on for an entire year with faculty just kind of ignoring it, until student tells her therapist what's going on, and he reports it. The teacher gets fired, charged, and goes to prison for a while. She was a single mom, and I have no idea what happened with her kid, which is the really sad part of it. When the school district does an investigation afterward, they find a filed away letter a substitute teacher wrote to the principal saying, "Hey, this teacher is clearly sleeping with this student. You guys really need to do something about this." Not only did the principal not do anything about it, she also stopped hiring this substitute in retaliation. Principal gets fired. Both the student and the substitute teacher end up getting million-dollar settlements from the school district. Quite a mess. Answer 5. Teacher in middle school went out on leave to have a baby. Her replacement was so liked that they hired him on to be a constant teacher's aide. If someone called off, he was the first sub for any class. It was also his first job at a school right out of university, so he was as young as he could be. A lot of the middle school girls, 12 to 15 years old, looked up to him as a mature hottie. I heard some disturbing things. You can probably see where this is going. 2 girls got into a rather violent fight. Clothing was ripped, hair was ripped out, blood was drawn. This wasn't just knuckles to faces until someone stopped. They were fighting to kill. Turns out he was sleeping with both of them, and they both thought they could keep them all to themselves. Until they turned 18 and got married. So instead of getting mad at him, they got mad at each other for moving in on what they viewed as their man. Shortly after the fight was stopped, the principal sat them down and asked them to work backwards down the timeline to figure out who started it. So the dude was walked out in handcuffs less than 15 minutes after the fight started. Answer 6. The cool guy Spanish teacher got caught fucking a bunch of student when he took one to get an abortion. The crazy part is that like 15 years later, Geraldo Rivera did some news story in my town, and the teacher was sitting front row at the event. Everyone from high school was posting the clip. Answer 7. The athletic director and superintendent were embezzling funds from our massive sports program. They were caught because they were exchanging text messages on their school-issued phones calling students racial slurs and saying sexist things. The text messages ended up coming out in court and exposed many teachers' personal business, including affairs and illnesses, etc. Our school board was being defrauded by a law firm for millions of dollars. The previous superintendent had also stolen from the school district and gotten caught. Meanwhile, there were several school buildings that were like crumbling. We were rationing art supplies, sharing books, while they were stealing from us. 4. A really well-liked and popular teacher was criminally charged for sleeping with a student. People were fighting about it for weeks. Answer 8. In like grade 8, this girl brought a bunch of Malibu to school and slammed it all on lunch break, barfed everywhere, and then tried to climb a wall to get a bison head down that was mounted on the wall like 40 feet up. Sent her to alcohol rehab and expelled her law. It was insane. Answer 9. My American history teacher was having an affair with his teacher's aide. Even played some role in getting her several college scholarships she didn't earn. This all came out mid-semester. When everyone found out, and it was revealed to his family, he committed suicide by sitting in his car, in his garage, with the engine running. We had to sub the rest of the semester. I've always felt like there was more to the story that never came out. It was nuts, though. Answer 10. In high school, we got these new laptop carts. It's basically carts on wheels to hold laptops, plus a printer that you could roll around to different classrooms. Teacher in another room printed her emails on the cart printer by mistake. I picked them up thinking it was my paper. It was not, it was 6 pages of spicy-ass emails between the teacher and principal, both married and not to each other. They were nasty, y'all edit. I thought it was the teacher who printed them, but I found out later it was a kid in her class snooping on her computer when she left the room. He was trying to print them so he could show everyone answer 11. There was a kid in my grade that was a super popular jock. During gym class one day, D decided to moon a group of popular girls. He turned around, pulled down his shorts, and then at the same time shit himself. Best part was that he was a total douchebag to begin with. Edit. He definitely didn't mean to. And I think what happened is he spread his cheeks and bent over when he did it, so it kind of just fell out. LOL. Answer 12. A lady came to talk at an assembly in the lecture hall about how her daughter was murdered, brutally stabbed after dating and trying to break up with an abusive junior in high school. When she was a freshman, she was highly offended at the audience's snickering and making light of. She wrote an apt-ed to the paper. Some parents were like, WTF is wrong with you kids, but ultimately it kind of felt like par for the course in our school, so. IDK. Answer 13. There was one gal who cheated on her senior chemistry finals and Snapchatted the answers to her story. Someone snitched, and she got suspended. The ironic thing is that she, that had the reputation of being like the A student, and I think was close to valedictorian, she was actually supposed to speak at graduation, but they didn't let her. Answer 14. One of my favorite teacher almost got fired because there was 2 girls fighting, and he pulled them apart by pulling their hair lamau. He walked them to the office by their hair. He was old already. Answer 15. The disappearance of all the mouse trackballs from the computer. Labancer 16. Our principal my freshman year was a functioning alcoholic. Answer 17. Our high school theater sound dude 40's got a junior pregnant. Dude had put my microphone on me so many damn times, as well as many other students. Him and my director got fired because of him kinda knowing. Answer 18. We had 2 guys from school rob a Taco Bell. One of them ended up murdering another student who had been working that night. A good kid lost his life, a buddy of ours got 25-2L, and the dude who committed the murder got life, without parole. Another kid who was the getaway driver went on the run for almost 15 years. It was just a messed up situation all the way around. So many heartbroken parents, family members, and friends. Answer 19. Baseball. Coach got fired for making the moves on some of his team members. This was one of those so obvious. Situations with more red flags than the Chinese embassy. He was known to shower with the team. He hosted unchaperoned pizza parties after baseball games at his house and liked to wrestle the players shirtless after showering. There was an awful lot of wrestling and showering involved. This was back in the 1980s. Of course, there was no announcement or communication. He just wasn't there anymore one Monday morning, and nobody said a word. Answer 20 when there. Was a semi-credible at the time? Bomb threat, and they decided to put every single person in the gym for hours. Question 7. You wake up tomorrow, and the internet no longer exists. What's the first thing you do? Answer 1. Go back to sleep. Answer 2. There's going to be a shit ton of physical media porn stores that open. It's like dispensaries opening when a state legalizes marijuana. People are going to get their fix one way or other. Answer 3. Take my morning constitutional. While I reacquaint myself with the back of a shampoo bottle. Answer 4. Build an internet and surf 5. Check. If the router is unplugged. Answer 6. I no longer have to look at this question. Posted 213 times every day. Answer 7. ID go buy all the maps from all the gas stations. Then ID sell them to people who don't know how. To read them for $100 a piece. Answer 8. Google WTF is happening. Answer 9. Pet my cat. I pet kitty. Is kitty happy? I happy. Answer 10. Call my internet company to try to figure out what's going on. Answer 11. Invent the internet. Answer 12. Pack my stuff and start heading out to California way. Maybe to Silicon Valley. They got a whole mess internet out there. Say a man can practically roll around in it. Answer 13. Start making awkward small talk with everyone. Is just as confused as I am. Answer 14. Let out a sigh of relief. Answer 15. My job is both remote and specifically writing websites and apps that are on the internet. So I guess after sorting out in-person unemployment, I'd go for a hike. Answer 16. Get my old Sony CD player and CDs and go for a motorcycle ride. Answer 17. Rejoice. Answer 18. Get out and contemplate how I'll survive. You know it's going to be hard. For people who makes money online. Answer 19. Are local networks still a thing, or that is gone as well? Answer 20. Call Al Gore and ask him to fix it. Question 3. What do people do that immediately screams low self-esteem to you? Answer 1. One facet I see regularly but not mentioned yet. Talk about themselves a lot. You'd think that's a narcissist, but it is. ... But low self-esteem people can overcompensate super hard, as if talking about themselves constantly validates their life. Answer 2. Agreeing with pretty much everyone. Answer 3. Doing too much for other people. Answer 4. Saying it's fine when they're mistreated. Answer 5. Getting very defensive when offered constructive criticism or when disagreed with. Answer 6. Settle for abusive partners. Answer 7. Knowingly and proudly. Being someone's side piece. Answer 8. Talking shit about other people all the time. Answer 9. These answers are odd. It seems like you can become a complete cock because of low self-esteem or a quivering yes man. There's bitterness and pity in the answers depending on which low self-esteem person you've met. Interesting. Answer 10. Jealousy and constant comparison to others. Answer 11. I see a lot of answers like being disrespectful or putting people down, but in my experience, people with low self-esteem tend to be kinder than others. Answer 12. The urge 2. Explains oneself. Answer 13. Always trying to talk themselves up. Answer 14. Talking shit on others as a default or being overly agreeable. Answer 15. This thread ain't helping anybody with low self-esteem. It almost validates what someone with low self-esteem is worried about. Answer 16. Care too much about everything. Answer 17. People no stay with their cheating partners. Answer 18. One-upping everyone. Answer 19. Low-key competitive secretly or openly. Answer 20. Need for constant reassurance. Question for those who have been into coma and eventually woke up. What was it like? Answer 1. Like a blip. I was in one for 3 days from a seizure. When I woke up, I had to learn to talk again. I saw my mom and knew I knew her, but didn't know why, and it scared me. But I do remember it feeling like no time had passed, and I had no recollection of anything during my period where I was in the coma, like my mom talking to me or doctors in the room. ... I heard nothing. I felt nothing. And I kind of destroyed my faith in afterlife, if I'm honest. There was no heavenly feeling. There was not lingering. It was just non-existence till I woke up. Again. Like a computer that got turned off and then woke back up. Answer 2. I went into a coma because of a ruptured appendix which inflamed my abdomen and kidneys. When I went into coma, it was spring with delicate green trees. When I woke, up there was a terrible blizzard. I thought I had been in coma for almost a year. It was only 5 days, though it was just April where the weather is quite unpredictable, but it scared the he asterisk out of me. Answer 3. My stepdad was in a 12-day coma when he was 16. He recalls feeling like he woke up as usual, but his mom was there, and that was weird. That's the shortest term experience. Longer term, he got kicked out of his house because his behavior changed. No one in his family figured out until decades later that that might have been related to the brain damage. He wanted to be a banker, and pre-injury had the aptitude. He could never manage money again. Instead, he worked a series of low-skilled jobs. With reasonable success, he was always frustrated with work, and I'm now wondering if he was too smart for 90% of it, but brain injury related. Deficits hindered him in the last 10% and kept him from moving on. Now that he's exhibiting mild cognitive impairment, we're finding out all sorts of things, as we and his doctors try to tease out brain injury versus natural decline versus possible dementia. Answer for, I was in one for a week. Basically. I remember a few seconds of my stomach being pumped, a few seconds of them trying to get me to breathe on my own, and then waking up a week later, no crazy dreams. No recollection of people in the room talking to me or anything. I will say it took me 3 days to walk unsupported after just a week of being in a bed. Muscles atrophy fast, and I'm an active guy. So in movies and TV shows, when someone wakes up after a month, or a year, or whatever, and hops out of bed to join the plot, that shit is absolutely not happening. Answer 5. Weird. I was in an induced coma for a few weeks and felt groggy, confused, and had short-term amnesia where doctors had to keep retelling me what had happened. I kept saying it was Saturday as the last thing I remember was going for a scan on the Friday and thinking it was the day after. Doctors also kept a lot of information too. I was awake a couple of days to stop shock overtaking the healing process. Answer 5. The dreams were extremely long and in-depth. Kind of had an exploration of space mixed with a weird floating SS to it. For some of it, one was a weird rescue mission involving a helicopter and a fully enclosed container going over and around a fortified desert. Landscaped another was along the lines of a hellish landscape of demons with very specific abilities controlling blood as weapons and time modification, as well as a torn-apart train and an underground tunnel with an old lady and a fully black smoke-type demon. That was a good 7 feet tall that seemed to be there to collect the old lady where she steps out of the train only to be hit by another passing train. I don't recall hearing anyone speaking to me while under, but I recall the heart attack that happened where I literally felt that my life was ending right then and there, which I guess it kind of was. 16 months. Ass. Later off a ventilator and slowly learning to walk and stand again. One upside, I didn't technically have to deal with chemo since I was in the coma for about 2 or 3 months. Said it. Keep remembering things. When being weaned off the medication that keeps me under, I would hallucinate spiders crawling across my chest or in the room. Corners of darkness moved and swirled a bit. The main thing I remember is seeing a 3 feet tall doctor fold themselves in half backwards and shoving themselves into the cupboard staring at me from across the room. Edit 2 was on ventilator. After waking, no food nor drink for a long time, I started dreaming like that scene in Constantine of the man in the store trying to drink alcohol, but to him, nothing was being consumed. I was trying to drink anything, and nothing would come out of bottles. I wanted water so bad. Apparently my last roommate had the same dreams. Answer 6. Mine was an induced coma after I fractured my skull falling over. There was nothing, just like being asleep without any dreams. When I woke up a week later, it was as if it was still the same day. Answer 7. I was in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks after a stroke. What I remember the most is how hard it was to distinguish reality. from the dreams I had while I was under. 4 days after waking up, I kept asking people around me, is this real? Or am I still dreaming? I had vivid, detailed dreams, some about people in my life divorcing, moving on, changing their lives in those dream scenarios, stuck with me so deeply that it took time to untangle what had actually happened and what hadn't. It's unsettling to question your reality like that, especially when everything feels just as real as the world around you. Answer 8. My dad was in one for 2 weeks. He said it was just like being asleep. He woke up, remembered the crash and passing out. Then next thing he knew, he was waking up in hospital. Answer 9. I was in a coma for 6 days last year because I collapsed at home from pneumonia. I was sedated and intubated. I remember not feeling well and needing to sleep in the recliner. Then some blips, a ride in an ambulance, some very violent dreams and nightmares, and literally waking up at my own funeral. It changed a lot about how I view things. The nightmares were so real, I can still recount them in detail. I dreamt so many things, fighting, getting kidnapped and tied up on a long train ride that I couldn't get back home, getting force-fed, getting restrained. I couldn't find my family, and every time I would be able to get through on the phone, my husband's voice was so faint. I was living through World War I and lost my younger son, then became institutionalized and restrained. Honestly, it felt like lifetimes. Nothing made linear sense, and it was terrifying. The final nightmare was attending my own funeral. But in like 1921, I was laid out in a rural chapel, and I could feel people all around me very grave, and I thought I heard screaming and wailing. Turns out that was me slowly coming up, and the bier I was laid out on was my hospital bed. I was lightly strapped in, and the grave voices were real. It took me around 3 days to reorient to 2024, and that I hadn't died and hadn't lost our younger son to violence. In fact, I only had one kid anyway, and he was hale-hearty and right there. For days, though, I was suspicious that people just didn't want to tell me that one of my 2 kids died. He had a name and everything. It was fucking terrifying. I had what they call coma dementia for about 3 to 4 months after. I had to relearn everything. Walk, talk, fine motor skills, everything. I couldn't even feed myself the first week. Could basically only move my fingers. Some stuff I learned afterwards. That specific spots in my enduring nightmare correlated with trauma that was happening to my body, like the intubation and stuff. They couldn't get my sedation right for a few days, and I was in a light and apparently very fighty sleep. I punched several nurses and techs, bit the hell out of one, and had to be restrained. Before I finally went all the way under, my family said that was the first few days. I have zero recollection, but I do remember getting kidnapped in my dream. So, I did go on an apology tour when I woke up and came to my senses. I cried when I met the nice nurse I bit. I was so fucking sorry. Honestly, it was terrifying all around. And the team were just happy I lived. Just before I got sick, I had read about a dozen books about WW1. Including how easy it was for women to get incarcerated for just acting weird during that time. And, to this day, I can't read or see anything about that time period without getting a shudder. The amnesia was also incredibly hard to shake. I had to be filled in on the week that passed between when I was feeling icky to when I collapsed in the kitchen. I was so fucking confused waking up in the hospital. I was like, dude, what? I just went to that party? Then I canceled the next day's plans because I felt ICKY ... And they were like, yeah, that was 3 weeks ago. Now, I was very weak for months, and it took me about a month to be able to walk again. And another few months after that to walk unassisted, like without help balancing. I have everything back. I worked really hard after that to get healthy and fix so many things. I feel lucky. I got to attend my own funeral and came back from it. I always appreciated life, but after all that, I know it's cliche, but every day I wake up, I just fucking treasure just waking up. Answer 10. So, hear me out. There was this lamp, ... Answer 11. I was in a coma for a few days following a suicide attempt last August. I remember downing an entire bottle of Seroquel and another of gabapentin with a full bottle of wine and getting very sleepy very quick. From there, I basically time traveled to a few days later, waking up terrified in a hospital bed, with a ventilator tube in my throat and family surrounding me. I'll be 11 months sober next Monday. Answer 12. I was in one for about 3 months, and remember the morning the accident happened, and nothing else until I woke up? Time that I'll never remember or have back. Answer 13. Autoimmune disorder. Coma, and then induced coma. Arrived at the ER, was stabilized, and last thing I remember was ordering a turkey sandwich. Woke up speaking Spanish, English native language, speaker with conversational only. Felt no time had gone by, but in reality it had been 3 weeks. Atrophy is not to be messed with. Took another 2 weeks to walk more than 3 feet. Catheter also takes a week to come back from. For about a year my brain would go into hibernate mode, like a fog, for 20 to 30 seconds. No lasting issues, but fond memories of the nurses during recovery. Edit to add. Pros woke up models skinny cons 1.000, 0 million in debt for 10th stars. Wouldn't do it again? So 14, my dad was put into an induced coma during height of COVID. He said it was shit scary waking up with a lot of drugs still in his system. Nurses and doctors were in full PPE. He'd wake thinking they were attacking him and trying to poison him. Said he kept having nightmares, blurring reality in his dreams. Probably awful for the poor staff trying to calm him too. He was convinced afterwards we had all been there, but we weren't even allowed to visit. So not been in a coma myself, but I would say frightening. Answer 15. I was intubated recently due to meningitis. I was asleep for 10 to 12 days. Weirdest thing ever. I can remember my dreams, the delirium. I've been talking about stuff I shouldn't know about because I was in a coma. I remember the head pain I sometimes had. I'm able to lucid dream anyway, so maybe that contributed. Answer 16. I was in a coma in the ICU. On a ventilator for 18 days and I woke up on day 20. It was sort of a dream nightmare state. I didn't know who I was or where I was. There was a little whiteboard with some stuff written on it in the room. I was under really heavy sedation and pain medication, and in the coming days came to understand that. Couldn't read. I could see the words on the page, but I couldn't make sense of them. When my wife arrived, it was reassuring, and I understood that she was there to protect me. I had developed ICU psychosis, which was treated with psych meds. I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks more, and then I was transferred to a rehab facility where I eventually regained my ability to walk first with a walker, then with a cane, get in and out of a car, write my name. Write the alphabet over and over again. The muscles, my hands and arms had atrophied, and read. When I got home, I was still spending a lot of time in a wheelchair, but a therapist would come to the house 3 days a week, and I eventually got everything back. I had around 5,300 unanswered Gmails, which I eventually deleted. I was out of work for a couple of years. Answer 17. I didn't remember anything. But a few months after I got out of the hospital, I had a dream that I was laying in a bed. My wife was sitting next to me, holding my hand. Every once in a while she would squeeze it, but for some reason I couldn't squeeze her hand back. It was such a weird dream that it woke me up. I told her about it later on that morning, and she told me that's what she did while I was in the coma, and it scared her that I wasn't squeezing back. Answer 18. I was in a short coma. I had this dream kind of thing where I was walking with friends, but finding it harder and harder to keep up until I just gave up and lay down. I knew that I was about to die and accepted it. My mind was slipping into the void. The moment I died, I woke up. I was extremely confused as to whether I had actually died or not. It took quite a while to believe that I was alive. Answer 19. Subdural. Hematoma and skull fracture from slipping on ice this past January. I had a craniotomy and we thought I was on the mend. 5 days later on my birthday, my brain started to swell, and I had to have a second craniotomy. They intubated me, and I was under for 9 days. I had insanely wild fever dreams that were incredibly detailed and bizarre. There were a few things that happened in my dream that later, after talking to my family, were seemingly related to things happening around me, but I had zero awareness. It wasn't full reality. When I woke up, it took a while to understand where I was and what was actually going on. It was terrifying. Answer to a complete lack of existence followed by a groggy awakening. I had no idea how long it had been, about 3 days, or what happened after speaking with a first responder in the ambulance.